You know, there's a few games that never really get talked about, despite them being around for so long. You know, it's like I still play EverQuest, and you know, until recently, Dwarf Fortress was one of those games where it was like you play it off and on over years, you forget about it, you come back to it. There's so much more involved, and the creators are, you know, the creators were fucking awesome. And that's like their masterpiece. The brothers made that Dwarf Fortress game. But here's one that never gets talked about, and it's called Unreal World. It's a survival game. And let me be clear. It might be the survival game. What do I mean by that? I mean, it was one of the first to pioneer a lot of stuff. Released in 1992, believe it or not. And it pioneered a lot of the systems that you see in. So it's like it's a roguelike, survival, you know, managing food and hunger and all that stuff. And the graphics are what they are, but there is stuff like that, whatever that is. But, you know, you got to give this game just a little bit of leeway. They haven't had a huge revival. Sort of like Dwarf Fortress got. Let's see here.
Into the far north we shall take you, as far as we can, by the means of computer role-playing. As a member of one of the 9 different cultures, you'll enter a detailed and enchanting Iron Age game world. A wide world with a vast forest, mires and mountains to roam, and watercourses to row is randomly and procedurally generated. And there, a completely open-ended gameplay awaits.
And they kept it, a lot of games like this keep the graphics simple because the stuff that they're trying to do is so complicated. And they're tracking everything. And the bigger the simulation, the more simple it needs to be because you can't, it's almost like we're not really at that stage where we can have very, very complicated graphics and very, very complicated games. We might be approaching that. But at least for the majority, it's like, do you want graphics or do you want gameplay? Sometimes. And I would say a lot of the best games, if I'm being honest, that in my opinion, are ones that don't have to have pristine, perfect graphics. They actually just focus more on gameplay and just, it is what it is. I mean, look at Minecraft.
One fish in the lake, you know. And far more than one way to live off the land. You'll see.
And this is one of the first that did it.
Discover trails and ways of animals.
But I don't know how much of this is redone of late.
With bows or spears. Or maybe try trapping instead. For hides to tan and meat to smoke. In the wilderness, where the urge to survive is equal for every being. The common sense, or berry picking, shouldn't be forgotten. You are free to roam or to settle. Free to gather or to cultivate. Craft your own tools, utensils, and clothes. Build log cabins or temporary shelters. During times of scarcity, or times of great success. You may want to shake the pine needles off your shoulders and interact with cultures near and far.
I like the music, but
Barter with people for useful equipment or cultural rarities.
this is just a
But
terrible
not every tribe is
video.
friendly. Just like not every character is a warrior. Life hurts, but sauna and healing herbs help. You need to rely on your skills.
It looks fun, though. It does look fun.
And guidance of the spirit.
I'm gonna end up fucking buying it. I can't keep doing this to myself.
And find excitement in surviving in the harsh ancient wilderness.
Yeah, very positive. I figured. But I just think, especially it being one of the ones that's the first to do it, I think it's just nice, going back and giving a little bit of praise, a little bit of whatever you would call it, attention. Give it attention. People should want to know, like, what was the first roguelike? What was the first survival game? It wasn't, I don't know if it was the first, but it was definitely one of them. Now that I'm thinking about it, but one of the main problems is survival and roguelite and all those kind of things just weren't popular for a long time. Roguelikes took forever. But then once they popped off, right? We got thousands of games. And then survival games, honestly, popped off in a way that no other game genre has, in a certain way. To the point where it didn't matter what game you were making, you gotta add survival in there if you wanted to sell. But even though it's simple, I will say Dwarf Fortress and this game, this Unreal World, these are just things that we should appreciate for what they are. And, a lot of people that I've talked to nowadays, especially younger gamers, they could never play anything like this. They don't appreciate things like this because if it doesn't have the usability and graphics, they don't want it. But it's like some of these games, I find myself playing and I'm like, I'm having more fun playing older stuff nowadays than I do newer stuff. I don't know why that is specifically. But either way, let me know in the comments what you think about this, what you think about Dwarf Fortress, what you think about older games. In particular, when I think about like EverQuest and when I think about older games that I still play, one of my most favorite games in the entire world was Blood and Magic. Blood and Magic is still today one of my all-time favorite games. It came out in 1996. And it's so simple, but it actually had good graphics for back then. I just think that we gotta get back somehow And I think some games are. Some games are. I've seen recently graphics are taking a hit for more intricate gameplay or more like role playing games. But then obviously we still have these expansive games that are done really well. With like Baldur's Gate 3, they actually managed to combine both elements, shouldering both elements to create something that would go on to sell, just millions of copies. Might and Magic's another one I really loved. Every time I think about the games industry as a whole, like we could definitely, I think even Minecraft did that in a certain way. It took us back. And it let us play and not worry about anything. Whereas a lot of these games are very oriented in a certain direction. And there's games like BioShock which have a direction, but I just feel like what I'm tired of especially is games that are just giant tutorials. And so I can't play mobile games at all. But anyway, if you guys like this, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.